In this video, I will show you how to research your blog post. I will walk you through the research process I have used to write over 600 blog posts, and I will share practical tips for finding high-quality sources, so you can create content that is genuinely helpful for your readers and outperforms competitors in search engine results. Without further waffle, let's dive into the 15 things I do when I research for a blog post. The first step is uploading the top search results into NotebookLM. When a brief lands in my inbox and it's a topic I'm not familiar with, I plug the primary keyword into Google and I upload the 5 to 10 top search results to Google's NotebookLM, and I generate the audio overview. And this allows me to get a general understanding of the topic. If I'm familiar with the topic, I might skip the audio overview, but it's still useful to have all the competing content in NotebookLM so I can easily pull information from it without switching between tabs. Number 2, analyze the competing articles for search intent. Search intent is the reason why the reader searches for the keyword. And the best way to find it is by looking at the competing articles, the format, the content, and the visual presentation. The rationale here, if the articles rank, they must give readers what they need. For example, if we search for blog posts, 3 out of the top 5 results are how-to guide, and they teach the reader how to write quality blog posts. So this is the kind of format that I would want to replicate. Can you get search intent from a keyword research tool? Sure. I've just searched for blog posts in Ahrefs and it returns that the keyword has informational intent. But how useful is this insight? In my opinion, not very, because it tells me nothing about the articles that rank for the keyword, and most blogs target informational or commercial keywords. In step number 3, I dissect competing articles to identify patterns and information gaps. This is the step where I dig deeper into competitors' content to understand what they do well and what they don't do so well. So to start with, I plug all the top articles into ChatGPT and I ask it to summarize them section by section in bullet points, extract all questions they answer directly and indirectly, find common themes, angles, and patterns, spot assumptions that they don't question or unsupported claims or gaps in logic or evidence, surface missing views, perspectives, or unaddressed reader needs, point out opportunities for more in-depth coverage, and identify unique or fresh perspectives that make them stand out. In step number 4, I search Reddit for unanswered reader questions and pain points. Reddit is a treasure trove of target audience insights. That's where readers go when SERPs fail them. I use GigaBrain to discover questions Redditors ask about the topic and problems they want to solve. And then I feed the results into ChatGPT and ask it to cross-reference the results with the competitor analysis results. And in this way, I can find questions and issues that competing articles don't answer. Here's what it looked like for an article about e-commerce returns. That's 8 questions that competitors fail to answer, and most of them are about practical ways to minimize the impact of customer returns on the business. These are the ones that I answered in the main body of the article. I also answered a couple of them in the FAQ section at the end. Step number 5, after competitor and Reddit research, I send out my requests for SME contributions. I do it by either contacting internal experts, reaching out to experts directly. I have built a network of amazing folks who regularly help me with my articles, posting callouts on LinkedIn, posting requests on PR platforms like Quoted, Featured, or Help a B2B Writer. As soon as the SME requests are out, I confirm the deadline with the editor or content manager so they know when to expect it. Step number 6, I move on to the most powerful resources, and that's clients' internal assets, the case studies, templates, frameworks, internal data. Competitors can't access these or easily use them in the work without referencing the source, and this alone may be enough to create unique content that radiates authority in every direction. And here's a quick hack. I create a separate NotebookLM file with all clients' case studies and internal reports so I can easily access the data. In step number 7, I look for primary sources using Google's advanced search. Google is still the most reliable way to find primary sources like research reports, case studies, and original data from reputable sources. These days, I can't be bothered typing all the operators. I use Google's advanced search panel instead, and I find it much easier, especially at the end of a long day in front of the computer. And anytime I find a useful resource, I upload it to the project file in Notebook so I can easily extract the data points when I start writing. In step 8, I run deep research with AI. I would never trust AI to find data, especially if I'm after up-to-date stats. But deep research is excellent for expanding the research scope beyond the first page in Google, something that would take hours, if not days otherwise. I use 3 AI assistants with deep research functionality: Perplexity, Gemini, and ChatGPT. And I run the search on all 3 of them at once, and then I export the results and use ChatGPT to synthesize them. In step number 9, I search for peer-reviewed academic sources. Not every blog post needs academic references, but for some topics like healthcare, education, HR, or management, peer-reviewed sources can add depth and authority. Google Scholar is a simple and powerful tool for finding relevant academic articles. These days, however, I lean into AI-powered tools. Semantic Scholar and Consensus, they not only find the sources for me, but also summarize them and synthesize the results, and they assess the quality. In step number 10, I look for quotes and evergreen insights in books. Bloggers often overlook books in the research, and I totally get it. Finding relevant information in a book is sometimes like finding a needle in a haystack, and they're often out of date the moment they hit the shelves. Still, I always run a quick Google book search to see if I can find any evergreen insights or quotes. I'm also in the process of converting my Kindle books into PDFs and uploading them to NotebookLM so I can search them more efficiently. In step 11, I search industry newsletters. If books give you timeless insights, newsletters give you what's happening right now. They often include exclusive insights, case studies, or data that sometimes never appear in any blogs. I subscribe to dozens of newsletters across the niches I write about regularly, like SaaS, SEO, product management, marketing, e-commerce. The challenge here is staying on top of all of them. And I'll be honest with you, I don't read all of them. I don't have time for that. So I use Zapier to automatically pull the newsletter content into a Notion database where I can search it all in one place whenever I'm researching a piece of content. Step number 12 is testing the tools I'm writing about. Taking the software for a spin is the most reliable way to discover details that competitors might miss, because let's face it, most writers have never used the tools they review in the blog post. So at the very least, I signed up for the free trial or free plan, and that's often enough to explain how the onboarding process works, to test the key features, and to spot some usability quirks. When I need a more in-depth test, I ask the client to purchase the subscription for me or to share theirs with me, because that's often the case. When testing the tool, I look for friction points. So is the setup intuitive or is it confusing? The same with the UX. How easy is it to find the features that I need? How steep is the learning curve? These are insights that readers value because they reflect the actual user experience. I look for unique features. Sometimes the smallest details become the differentiator that helps the reader make an informed decision. I always take screenshots because visuals make the article more engaging and, most importantly, easier to digest. A series of screenshots or GIFs will usually illustrate better how to complete a task than a lengthy description. In step 13, I scan review sites for customer feedback. When researching Bofu content, I regularly dig into customer reviews on platforms like G2, Capsera, or Clutch. I use them to spot recurring pain points, find customer success stories, discover product pros and cons, and capture customer vocabulary. Thanks to these, I can write about the product objectively and authoritatively, even when I can't test them myself, using the language that real customers use. In step 14, I listen to podcasts and YouTube videos. Podcasts and YouTube videos provide unique insights, fresh perspectives, and expert soundbites. They are more difficult to process than written text, so many writers don't bother. But with the right tools, I find audio recordings as easily accessible as blogs, newsletters, or books. So here's how I go about podcast research. First, I look for relevant episodes on Spotify. I like Spotify's search engine, and their podcast library is quite extensive. Downside of Spotify is that I can't download the episodes directly from there. So next, I search for a particular episode on Google. Many podcasts have websites with file archives where you can download them. After downloading the episode, I upload it to Notebook where I can query it for specific insights or pull quotes. With YouTube videos, it's much easier because you can just copy and paste the video URL into Notebook and it will take it from there. Whenever I need a full transcript of the episode or video, Assembly AI is my go-to transcription tool. In step 15, I look for expert insight on X and LinkedIn. LinkedIn and X feeds are excellent sources of current expert insights. That's why I always scan the two platforms for relevant posts that I could use in my content. And I save them religiously in my swipe files in case I can't find them in the future. So these were the 15 things that I do when I research my articles. Before I let you go, let me answer a few questions about blog research that I often see or hear. How long does it take you to research the content you create? I need between 3 to 8 hours to thoroughly research a blog post. This depends on how familiar I'm with the topic and what resources I already have in my resource vault. Articles that require SME insights are normally more time-consuming because the contributions take longer to source. How do I know which sources are trustworthy and current? To verify if the source is trustworthy and current, I check the publisher, the author, and the publication date. Reports from established organizations like Gartner, McKinsey, or brands like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Surfer, SparkToro are more reliable than random blogs. I also look for stats that are no older than 2-3 years, unless I'm citing them for historical context. And if I can't trace a claim or a stat back to the original report, I won't use it in my article. Which tools are useful for blog research? When researching my articles, I use NotebookLM for summarizing top-ranking articles and creating knowledge bases, Assembly AI for transcribing interviews, podcasts, and videos, GigaBrain for finding questions and discussions on Reddit, Perplexity, Gemini, and ChatGPT for deep research, ChatGPT for synthesizing the data, Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, and Consensus for peer-reviewed articles, Zapier and Notion to organize newsletters and clippings. When do I stop researching and start writing? I start writing when I know my angle and I have credible sources to back up my claims. But when I'm outlining the article, I'll often go back and look for additional sources to support the new arguments that come up. How can I organize my research to avoid overwhelm? To avoid getting overwhelmed, I centralize my research in NotebookLM so I can easily ask for specific information and data points. I also have a resource vault in Notion where I keep track of all the sources I've used in previous articles in case I need a specific data point again. However, I must admit I update it less and less these days as NotebookLM makes it easier to recall data. How can you do research faster and better when writing content? Good research always takes time, but you can speed it up and make it more in-depth with AI-powered search tools like GigaBrain or Consensus. With AI chatbots like ChatGPT and Gemini, it's also easier to synthesize the information and extract relevant insights, which means you can work with more sources and gather more data. Finally, NotebookLM is perfect for organizing your research so you can easily access the info you need whenever you need it without going through the sources manually again and again. How can I get content ideas? When I work for a B2B SaaS company, the content ideas come from keyword research and the product and service offerings. So for example, when I worked for Honestly, which is an employee survey platform, we targeted keywords related to employee surveys and employee engagement to showcase the tool's features and present it as a solution to customer pain points. Topicality is another factor. A lot of the content I write covers trending topics. For example, lots of my recent articles about SEO and link building focus on increasing visibility in AI search results. And when it comes to my own blog content, it's less about keyword research at the moment and more about sharing helpful advice. That's it, folks. Here are the tricks of the trade that I use to write well-researched content for my clients. I'm going to add a link to the blog post where I describe the whole process in the video description, so check it out. I hope this helps when researching your own blog content. And if you like the video and don't want to miss any future ones that I upload, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.